$100,000 a year. That sounds rich, right? For many people, especially outside the United States, a six-figure salary feels like you've truly made it in life. It feels secure, even impressive, at first. But in the United States, a lot of people earning $100,000 don't feel rich at all. In fact, many of them feel middle class. So why does a $100,000 salary feel so ordinary in the US? Let's break it down, simply. The expectation around $100,000 comes from older ideas. For a long time, six figures were seen as the symbol of success. It meant you were doing well, that you had truly made it. It suggested stability, security, and a comfortable life. Movies, media, and even career advice still reflect that old picture. They present a six-figure salary as something close to wealthy, as if reaching that number solves most financial problems. But the reality today is very different, because what really matters isn't the number on paper. It's what that number can actually buy, how much space it gives you to live comfortably, how much margin it leaves after bills are paid, and how resilient it is when life becomes unpredictable. In many parts of the United States, that margin has grown thinner year after year. So while the number still sounds impressive, the experience of earning it feels far more ordinary than people expect. $100,000 feels big because it's a psychological milestone. It's a clean, round number, one that sounds impressive. For decades, it represented success. It signaled progress, stability, and upward mobility. Years ago, earning that much money really did mean a comfortable lifestyle. You could afford a home, save money, and still have room to breathe. There was margin, space for mistakes, and confidence about the future. But over time, the cost of living kept rising, faster than salaries ever did. Housing became more expensive, healthcare followed, education, childcare, transportation. One by one, everyday costs outpaced income growth. And that growing gap changed everything. Because when costs rise faster than pay, even strong salaries begin to feel tight. And that gap is where the problem really begins. The first shock is taxes. When someone earns $100,000 in the United States, they don't actually take home $100,000. Before the money ever reaches your bank account, several layers come out. Federal income taxes, state taxes, in many states, and payroll deductions, like Social Security and Medicare. All of that adds up quickly. By the time those deductions are finished, a large portion of that salary is already gone. In reality, someone earning $100,000 often takes home closer to $65,000 to $70,000 a year. And that's just the starting point. That's before paying for housing, before groceries, before healthcare, before transportation, childcare, or savings. This is the first reason a six-figure salary doesn't feel rich. Because on paper, it looks impressive. But in real life, the usable income is far smaller than most people expect. Next comes housing, usually the biggest expense. For most people, this is where the pressure really starts. In many US cities, even a modest apartment can cost $2,000 to $3,000 every single month. That's not luxury. That's not downtown penthouses or high-end buildings. That's just a normal apartment in a normal neighborhood. When you do the math, that comes out to $24,000 to $36,000 a year just for rent. And that's before utilities, before parking, before any extras. For homeowners, the costs don't disappear. They simply change. You still pay property taxes, home insurance, maintenance and repairs. Things that break, things that wear down, things you can't ignore. And in many cases, there's also a mortgage, often with rising interest rates. When you add it all up, housing alone can easily consume close to half of a person's take-home pay. And remember, this is after taxes, after deductions, after everything else. This isn't a luxury lifestyle. It's not indulgence. It's simply the cost of having a place to live. Then come everyday expenses. And this is where the pressure really builds. Healthcare is a big one. Even with insurance, most people don't just pay once. They pay monthly premiums, co-pays every time they visit a doctor, and deductibles that have to be met before insurance even starts helping. A single medical issue can still cost thousands of dollars, even for insured families. Then there are groceries. Food prices have risen steadily, and feeding a household adds up quickly. Utilities come next. Electricity, gas, water, internet, all essential. Transportation is another major cost. Car payments, fuel, maintenance, auto insurance. And in many cities, owning a car isn't optional. If there are children, childcare becomes one of the largest expenses of all. In some areas, Daycare alone can cost thousands of dollars every month. And none of this is luxury spending. These aren't upgrades or indulgences. They're simply the cost of living a normal life in the United States. $100,000 in the United States isn't poor, but it isn't rich either. Instead, it has become the new middle ground. A place where life is stable, but not effortless. You can pay your bills, you can cover necessities, and you can live a decent life. But there's very little room for mistakes, or surprises, or major setbacks. One unexpected medical bill, one rent increase, one job change, and that sense of comfort can disappear quickly. This helps explain why so many people earning six figures still feel stretched, still cautious, still worried about money, even on what sounds like a high salary. Because the pressure isn't about lifestyle. It's about balance. Balancing rising costs with stagnant wages. Balancing security with uncertainty. And balancing expectations with reality. That's something many people don't fully understand from the outside. And it's a reality most people don't expect until they experience it for themselves. So what does a $100,000 salary actually buy in the United States? It buys stability. You can pay your bills. You can live independently. You don't have to worry about every single expense falling apart. You can handle small emergencies. A car repair. A medical bill. A sudden expense that would be devastating at lower income levels. And if you're careful, very careful, you might even save a little money each month. But what it doesn't buy is financial freedom. It doesn't mean luxury. It doesn't mean unlimited choices. Most people earning this amount still budget carefully. They still plan expenses. They still think twice before big purchases. Vacations are planned, not spontaneous. Spending is measured, not careless. And long-term goals like buying a home, saving for retirement, or raising a family often feel slow and uncertain. There's comfort, but also pressure. Security, but not ease. And that's the key difference. $100,000 today doesn't represent wealth. It represents the modern middle class. A place where life is manageable, but still demanding. Where success looks good on paper, but feels fragile in reality. And that's why so many people earning six figures don't feel rich at all. They feel responsible. They feel careful. And they feel one setback away from things becoming difficult. That's not failure. That's simply what the middle class looks like today.